Hello and welcome, my ghouls and goblins, to the Halloween series on the Screen Queen. Welcome back to the series finale of the Halloween series on the Screen Queen. It has come to this moment that I have to reveal that I rigged this whole thing. This actually was not because Stephen King has been having a Stephen streaking lately with all of his movies. This is a sheer coincidence for the Stephen King theme. And so I have to present the person that I hatched this plan with, and making her third appearance on the show is my friend Ann Lowe. Hey, baby.
Hey.
It is always a joy to have you on my show. We have been wanting to collab, pretty much every single time. So we're going to be covering a certain story from Stephen King about a man and his wife and his psychic boy as they're just going to a 5-month job looking after a hotel that couldn't possibly have any spirits in it, right? Going after him and making him go crazy, right? No. It is one of the most famously scary Stephen King stories, and even Stephen King questions his audience's sanity, like, why do you like this stuff, guys? Have you read what I wrote? This is horrifying. All of it based off of a nightmare, except we're covering his preferred adaptation, the miniseries. And since you know everything about the book, and I know the other stuff that has gone on, we can put our powers together to present to you The Shining. Why are you so into the miniseries? I just have to ask. Because no one else has ever talked about it with glory like you have, because the internet has quietly hated this thing.
Oh, well, I don't care, but if I'm in the minority on it, the miniseries, which was produced by Stephen King himself, because he hated the Kubrick movie so much, it's my absolute favorite. It's 3 episodes, and I think each one of them is like an hour and a half long.
Yep, it's pretty much 3 movies.
The Shining is my favorite, period. Like, it's The Shining, and then, like, Doctor Sleep is, like, a sliver behind it. Kubrick's version, if you have never read the book, I can understand why the Kubrick version has the popularity that it has. However, if you have read the book, for me, Kubrick's version is irritatingly wrong, and the miniseries stays true to the book, and the acting was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I don't know. It's my favorite. It's just the best. And if I ever meet the guy that plays Jack Torrance, I would have a fangirl moment, and he would probably be surprised because I'd be like, oh my God, I don't know, doing The Shining. And he's going to be like, The Shining?
It has definitely garnered a home all these years, and it's been totally torn apart left and right. But now, since Stephen King series has been analyzed more, there's been more of a leniency with it. And I have to say, I can see why you like it.
I don't know why people have a problem with it, honestly, because like I said, if you read the book, the miniseries makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. It does. So in terms of it being a faithful adaptation, I think I'd have to say it definitely does a lot more than what Stanley Kubrick did, just like within the first episode. Yeah. I was thoroughly impressed with it just within 20 minutes, and I'm like, yeah. And even the little moments I was going back and forth between like Stanley Kubrick and this one, all I could think of is, in Stanley Kubrick's, it was just the atmosphere. The atmosphere told the story. I actually got to see Jack, Wendy, Danny. They were layered, but considering that the original Jack and Danny and Wendy were so layered under the Kubricks of Kubricks, it was hard to get to know them.
Yeah. Well, and the actress that played Wendy, she really struggled in that movie too. Like, Kubrick, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but if I remember correctly, like Kubrick was so awful to her during that filming that she felt abused. Because in the Kubrick movie, I feel like Jack looks crazy from the get-go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he looks kind of sinister, and he looks like he could crack at any moment. Danny makes me the most angry because they made him in the Kubrick version weird. Like,
yeah, they did.
And not in like he was the most changed, in my opinion. And then Wendy was just a terrified, battered woman.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those are so opposite of what they were in the book.
Mm-hmm. And even though these characters exist in kind of a different atmosphere, you get to have them together in their own atmosphere than being taken away in different places. I never bought them as a family in the original Shining because they were so disconnected, because you had to see everything that Stanley Kubrick wanted you to see. And the same thing you mentioned about Danny, and I felt Danny kind of was smudged into the atmosphere because Stanley Kubrick wanted to do his little things, and that greatly took away from what was supposed to happen with The Shining. It's great, but also still greatly took away.
Yeah, like, I watched a TikTok where a guy, he works in film, was talking about how the camera angles and everything was just so well done, because that's what sort of the focus was, and especially with the staircase. And you're right, they felt very disjointed as a family. And I understand that within that movie, they only have a small amount of time. It would probably be more difficult within that time stretch to have them start out as like the happy family that they were at the time. You know, because in the book, and it explains in the miniseries, they had gone through a lot of tough times with Jack's drinking and him breaking Danny's arm and him losing his job because he beat the crap out of the kid. But they were coming out of it. Like, they were on sort of the other side of that. And within the time frame that Kubrick was working with, it would be probably a much harder shift to start them as the happy family and then, like, him just go bat crack crazy very quickly.
Like, they were hanging on like the ash hanging on to Wendy's cigarette. That ash had more faith than everything else. But I think it worked better in the miniseries because there was the direction of Mick Garris. Are you familiar with Mick Garris?
No.
So I've mentioned him a lot on the Stephen King month, where he takes up a good chunk of the 90s with Stephen King. When you look at his career, there's not many people that he's been able to correctly collaborate with that gets the vision. But this guy did it 3 times. That has got to be an award somewhere. And there's not many people that Stephen King would trust. And because he had a different way of going about it that was a little bit more relaxing, it really made the story breathe better. But here's also a really funny thing that I noticed in the first episode. I never thought I'd say this in a million years, but The Shining and American History X have something in common.
Interesting.
So not only do these two very different pieces of media share a opening score that has that going on, they share an actor too. Elliot Gould is the guy that plays the man in the beginning that's like, so you're the caretaker, and I hear you're an alcoholic, and I don't like it, but here you go. And then having to turn around and see him in American History X, it was not on my 2025 bingo card to find that out.
Oh, wow. I haven't watched American History X in so long. Like, I feel like that's a very important movie, but it's such a rough movie.
I guess it was a shining example for his career, I guess to say. But when I saw this, I couldn't wait to share that with you. But I also noticed that there are some very familiar people that have been a part of the Stephen King universe. Pat Hingle, who was the shady gas station manager in Maximum Overdrive. He plays the sheriff security guard. that makes all the, the hammy jokes, and I'm like, you just couldn't resist it. You had to play hammy in Maximum Overdrive, and now you got to bring your hamminess into The Shining. And not only that, Julie from The Stand, the annoying girl that got slapped in the face by Rob Lowe, she also has a cameo in there in the 3rd episode. And then the biggest of them all, Sam Raimi, who made Spider-Man.
Which Spider-Man?
Oh, the Maguire.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So with this whole spiel, it kind of feels like a united effort of all the stuff that Stephen King had been working on for years and years and years, and it all gets placed into this. So since The Shining has like a very unique story, it takes very unique characters, and since we already have the Stanley Kubrick versions, do you feel that the characters presented here are the best that it's going to be, or is the best that it's going to be?
So, yes, for me, we'll start with Danny. In the book, Danny was 5, but he was brilliant. He was articulate, was wise beyond his years. Like, he didn't understand a lot of things, because he would glean things from adults' minds that he didn't always comprehend. He was always much older than his 5 years old. I think that the little boy did a really, really good job. The woman that played Wendy,
Rebecca De Mornay.
Yes, I love her. I think she's a great actress. Wendy is fierce in the book. Like, don't get me wrong, she puts up with more crap than she should with Jack, but she is fierce, and she believes Danny, and she does a really good job. I don't know, I just love her as an actress. I loved her ever since Three Musketeers, where she jumped off the cliff. But I thought she did a really great portrayal of Wendy and really brought her to life, for sure. The guy that played Jack,
I think it's
Steven
Weber.
I really looked up actors' names before we did this.
Good. That's what I'm here for, babe.
Don't get me wrong. I think Jack Nicholson was a great portrayal, because he is when and his son is the same way.
God, yes.
When they smile and they really put that sinister spin on it, it looks so good. But the actor that they picked for Jack in the miniseries, I think, really brought the complexity that Jack deserved. I don't get me wrong, he's not as sinister probably as he could have been, but I think he did a really good job portraying how much he loved Danny, how much, while he did love his wife, there was resentment there, and just the downward spiral. This man that had good intentions but definitely had a chip on his shoulder into the crazed, possessed person.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really long answer.
That was a great answer. And I give it 1,000 roses, 9-hour standing ovation, and I 100% agree. Even though, Jack Nicholson did bring a great performance, and I will forever think about the, I'm going to bash your brains in. He really did make the horrific moment of it. However, but having Steven Weber, you did get to see the descent more. Mm-hmm. It felt more fitting.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I could go on a forever rant on how Kubrick threw Jack over with everything, because Kubrick made it very clear in his portrayal that Jack hated his family. He hated being a husband and a father. Jack did not, especially being a dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it even shows in Dr. Sleep. And I don't want to give a spoiler to that, but that's my big complaint. That's my biggest complaint. Jack got screwed in Kubrick's version, and I think Kubrick really missed the mark on that one. But that's my own, I'm sure that I feel that way because I love the book so much. in the sinister thing between Steve Weber and Jack Nicholson, I kind of compare it to the old It movie and the new It movie, because I felt like Tim Curry was like Steven Weber. Like, he was wholesome until he wasn't. Versus the new It, where I always felt like he looked like he was going to eat kids from the get-go before he even like brought out his teeth. And so that's kind of how Jack Nicholson was in the Kubrick one. Is it always, you could always see his teeth metaphorically.
Honestly, the one that kind of got to me the most, and this is just my personal preference in the entirety of what I've been involved with in The Shining, I love the portrayal of Dick Halloran. I don't know what it is,
Dick.
but every time they get him right, they always do. I know they did him dirty in the original one, but still top notch. You felt the connection between him and Danny of a safe character that isn't an unsafe territory, but it's someone you can rely upon. And the one that they put in there is just fantastic all around the board.
And that's another thing that I love that Steven really added in Doctor Sleep. There is Dick shows up in Doctor Sleep. It shows just how connected those two were for, not just what happened with the Overlook, but like up until he died.
And then having to look at the amount of time we have before Dr. Sleep, and all you have is this Kubrick sandwich and then the Garrus middle. But in that Garrus middle, you still had a continuation of what the dynamic is like for Danny and Dick. In Wendy's case, I was a little on the fence originally about Rebecca De Mornay until I finally got to see her performance here. And I have to say, she does embody what Wendy was supposed to be from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And Kubrick's, they wanted Jessica Lange, and I feel like they kind of got what they were supposed to get with that Jessica Lange value. They just put it in De Mornay all the way. She absolutely earned and deserved being first title before Steven Weber, 100%.
She did do a great job.
She did. It wasn't a risky business for her at all. She knew what she was doing. I don't know. I can't think of any other characters at all except the main skadoodle boodles.
I mean, there was Grady. He was probably the one that showed up the most other than the three. I do kind of love Grady, though, and how he was used as the main ghost to, like, lead Jack down the path. Yeah. And just to give a hint of, like, hey, you need to be following the rules. You need to be doing what we need to be doing. And that subtle, I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for. Just, like, manipulation from him.
Mm-hmm. It was definitely evident within there. When Grady first showed up in there, I felt like this portrayal was much better, even though I hate saying it. It was much better than the one in Stanley Kubrick, because it was still chilling to hear him say, I corrected her, and I corrected them. But this one felt more fluid than just the ambiance. You actually got to have a presence with motive, ambition, everything. It was a little bit more involved than the Kubrick Grady. Because again, Kubrick didn't really cater to the story. He catered to how the story could cater to him.
Mm-hmm.
And his visions and all that jazz. But I did want to ask you this. If it was different for Jack Torrance, even though you do love Steven Weber, who do you think could play Jack Torrance?
If they were to redo it now, I would probably pick Jack Nicholson's son.
Yeah.
Because I think he plays loving really well, and I think he does absolutely have his dad's smile and everything, but when he's not trying to be sinister, I feel like he's got kind of a wholesome face that Jack doesn't have.
Absolutely. I would have never thought that in a million years. When I was scratching my head about who could have played Jack Torrance, I thought about Bryan Cranston, the dad on Breaking Bad and Malcolm in the Middle. Hal.
Oh, he would have had to done it back in
in that era, in the Malcolm era.
In the middle, yeah. Because Jack is kind of younger. I don't know that he could be that, but
yeah, that's where my brain went back and forth on it too, because he has so much depth and there's some wiggle room to never see him coming, no pun intended. But I feel like that could have worked in another one in a different time and era. And I'm not saying this because this guy is on a roll currently in Stephen King movies, but Mark Hamill.
I know that name. Hold on. Mark.
Luke Skywalker.
Oh.
Yeah, you're seeing the real estate that I'm building here about who could have been Jack Torrance here. Like, I still think Jack Nicholson has his own little pedestal. Steven Weber has his own unique pedestal that had to, get brushed off and give some value to over the years. And I think there's even a tiny little pedestal for the Dr. Sleep version played by Elliot from E.T. I feel like Mark Hamill could have definitely done some good real estate with that.
I think in the time frame that he would have needed to be, I think it kind of would have ruined the Star Wars movies for him.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think if he would have done that, so the Star Wars people would have been like, I'm sorry, we can't unsee that. You can't be Luke Skywalker. But he does play a good evil guy, because Mark Hamill played one in Criminal Minds, and he did a really good job. And he was a very complex character.
Mm-hmm. And the Joker, of course. I'm trying to think of some other new names. That's the hard part, is the thing that I thought about during my whole duration of watching this and trying to piece things together is Jack feels like a complex character that I don't think many people in Hollywood could really depict. We had Jack Nicholson that was Kubrickified, and then we had the Mick Garris version that went different directions, but still nonetheless presented the authentic Jack. So if they say you don't know about Jack, it's like, oh no, the miniseries seems to know all about Jack, and Kubrick didn't know nothing about Jack. And then Dr. Sleep, God was trying to just do Jack all what they could there.
I think Ethan Hawke could have done it well.
Yeah. I could definitely see that working. I'm trying to think of another one. That's the hard part. It's like there's so many that are known for a certain role. Like if you were to play Jack Torrance, like that would have to be the ultimate role of a lifetime, or it's just not going to make the cut. It's just it's hard to pitch it. Just like with Wendy. I mean, it took a couple tries till we got there with Rebecca De Mornay, who gave what we needed, but even Wendy has a harder time being depicted to that true authenticity.
Yeah. I don't know. I understand that I'm in the minority. I am such a Jack Torrance fan because of his complexity and because of his love for Danny. Like, that man's got his problems, but I will always stand by him. Maybe that says something about me.
So another segue that I wanted to make, the Overlook Hotel's portrayal. I honestly felt that one was the best. Hotel. You have been? Did you see anything? Did anything see you?
The Stanley Hotel?
Yeah.
Yeah. I went last year and we did the Stephen King tour. And that room, the 217 room, is like booked up 2 years with like a 2-year waiting list.
Wow.
It's beautiful. It's high up for sure. But no, I didn't see anything. It was like the tour was fun. Now they do talk a lot about like what's been seen there and everything.
How did you feel about the Overlook Hotel being portrayed in the miniseries? I'm curious to know your thoughts about that.
I mean, I liked it. I mean, it was still like some time ago. So some of the stuff, like the hedge animals, those are a little cheesy.
They are.
I think it was a good portrayal. There really wasn't much difference between the two per se, except for like one had the hedge animals and one had the maze, right?
Pretty much, yeah. One was Kubrickified and one was Garrist. I felt the Overlook Hotel was more properly introduced as a mystery and as an enigma better than the Stanley Kubrick version, where, like I said, the atmosphere takes over everything. So it's hard to pinpoint what is your threat. But you also want to get to know what this place is. In the Stanley Kubrick version, when Jack is like walking through and just sees everything, that's it. He just walks through and he's like, cool. Seeing Jack actually fraternize with the guests that are dead, and like we've been getting all these bits and pieces from the past couple of episodes, it gave more to what I wanted to know. In the Dr. Sleep version, there was still more to know about the Overlook Hotel, even though that was still Kubrickified and had to be transitioned from Kubrick. I still felt that one and the miniseries did a better service to the Overlook Hotel than being something more than just an atmosphere. You actually got to know this entity and how it dwells and what's going on with it.
Yeah, and how it uses Jack.
Yeah.
Because in the book, they don't really touch on it in either, but in the book, Dick, because he sees how bright Danny is, he tests the parents because he wants to know which one gave it to Danny.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that Wendy flinched, and he was like, well, Mom's got a little bit of shine. He said that Jack has no shine, and yet Jack was the conduit because Danny got it from Jack. His had just been suppressed with the drinking and everything like that. And they go into that in Dr. Sleep too, because Danny becomes a lot like Jack. And Danny kind of loses his shine for a while in the alcohol. I do really like in the miniseries how they take over Jack. And it's not just that they twist him, they actually take over.
I feel like everything got portrayed better here in The Shining, even if it had, a couple of hiccups here and there and some strange transitions. But overall, I feel like it gave what it needed to give. But the one thing that I wish I could do for this, and this is just a me thing, I wish this was edited better. Because as much as it's a great story, there are sometimes I felt the pacing was just, it was drawing straws for me. Having Dick at the airport and having The Shining happen to him, and he's still at the airport, and he's having an episode at the airport, and I'm just like, Dick is just becoming his own miniseries in this miniseries, and I love me some Dick. No pun intended. But I felt that was too much. Some of the stuff with Danny going different places was too much. And some of the long pauses, it's like, can someone please tell the editor we don't have to have everything in the kitchen sink involved? I still love the way that it has its, I don't want to say low quality feel, because it still has a high quality content involved with its production and portrayals and storytelling. I just wish the editing was just a little bit better. And the CGI monsters, I feel like they can get a bit of a pass because it was in that bizarre era for Stephen King that did weird things. I just joke and say that the Langoliers came for a visit and just wanted to stop by, and that they used all the budget for the stand for the hand. So that's why we didn't have much of a CGI budget. But Garrus was like, this is what we got left. We got some change and a shoestring, and this is going to be what we're going to make. But I feel like for what it is existing in that Mick Garris age, it kind of complements it as much as it kind of confuses it.
Yeah. Well, and you got to remember that some of those transitions were for commercial breaks.
Commercial breaks took me out, son. I don't mind telling you. Oh my God. I was like,
I thought about that today as I was watching it. I was like, I love how it just fades to black and it comes back and it's in a whole different scene. And I was like, I've got to remember that this was done as like a TV show. So they're compensating for commercials. But yeah, some of the editing I can understand. The Dick Halloran stuff, especially, I'm with you, where I'm just like, I get, like, he's trying to get to Danny. We get it. We can move on. But okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the exploring, I think, was as honed in as it was, because in the book it's pretty honed in. And you did notice in the Kubrick one, you don't get Tony.
Yeah, I was,
at all.
you must be reading my mind. You must be a psychic, because I was literally just about to bring up Tony's portrayal, because Tony kind of took me out.
And you don't find out until the end, for sure, that Tony, I mean, spoiler, guys. I feel like it's been long enough that I'm allowed to just say the spoiler.
Go for it.
But, like, Tony is Doc. He's just the older version of himself.
He's
warning his younger self.
He's a 90s Tony.
And they don't really, the book explains it a little bit better, that Tony was trying to help out, obviously, his younger self. But as the hotel grew stronger, Tony wasn't allowed to show up anymore, which is why you don't see him toward the end.
Mm-hmm. It was a different twist to do that, like where people were following the Kubrick version and there was such a torch held for it that there was no room to see what Garris and King were putting out for the more correct version. And even though it didn't get to me at first, but then having to put in, oh, this is for the book version, this is what has to happen. It's a good effort, even if people are going to take a little bit of time to realize that's why Tony was put in here. I truly did not see that coming in the end of it, to see Danny walking across on stage and it looks like Tony, and I'm like, oh, that's why he's so 90s. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So what was, like, the big issue with the miniseries that people were, like, having an issue with, other than, like, oh, it's not as good as the movie?
Honestly, I think it's because of Steven Weber. The amount of jokes that I see every year, people saying, it's that one time a year I gotta watch the guy from Wings portray Jack Torrance. And it's like, okay, but still, you got someone who wasn't born looking evil, who hadn't done a horror performance yet, and the only thing to his name was Dracula, Dead and Loving It, where that worked with him as a comedy. But having a jump from that to Jack Torrance just kind of took people out. And no one was prepared to have something different. And it's taken so much time over the years, like the past 10 years in the internet, there's just been this nonstop of not accepting Steven Weber's performance as Jack Torrance. But when people actually went through the book and see, oh, this is what Stephen King was laying and Steven Weber was the face to do it, it gives a little bit more of a leniency. And I feel like I'm at a time now where I can be a part of the pro Steven team. I can be his wingman any day to get behind Jack Torrance. There was an up and down thing with him, but I think it did come to fruition in the end.
Yeah. Now, I need Steven to make a mini-series about Dr. Sleep. I need the correct version.
Stat.
I'm telling you, I got halfway through the Dr. Sleep movie, and I almost walked out. I'm so mad. Because that's when it, like, went sideways and did not follow the rest of the book. The first portion was like, okay, all right, here we go. And then the last bit, I was like, you sons of bitches.
Looking at this timeline from like 1980 to like 2019 and 97 being that middle marker of the miniseries to portray what had to happen, it's like it was almost predicting the future in a way that we would have what people would be needing in the future for the whole story of the Overlook Hotel and Jack's descent into madness, that we got all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while, but we got there. It took a long while after we got there, but we got there.
You know, in all the miniseries, we did not talk about the lady in 217.
Yes. Cheesy lady, as I call her, because, man, she looks like she got some debris on her, baby. Oh, my goodness. Oh, the woman I felt was portrayed better here. It looks like the production value was cut in half because of the stand and the Langoliers, but for what it's worth, the haunting imagery was better introduced than trying to make it, sexual and whatnot. Like a naked, grotesque woman just chilling in your bathtub. I feel like that was like the peak scariest, like eeriest moment than the dog mask coming around. I'm just like, oh, come on.
Yeah. I really liked, they kind of led up to her too. Like they honed in on the 217 kind of peephole and how she like walked by it. And so you saw like shadow and just, ooh, she wasn't trying to like be scary per se. She just is more like, here, kid, do you want some candy? But, you know, you have the sinister undertone. In Dr. Sleep, you find out she actually, like, followed Danny.
Yeah, that was gnarly. That was absolutely gnarly. Like, talk about the bare necessities. Talk about the scare necessities in this case. Yikes. Ugh, man. But one thing I wanted to ask you, what did you think of the climax?
So what would you consider the climax?
Yeah, that's exactly, because I didn't want to make too many comparisons to the original. Just want to go in this fresh face and just learn that this is book to film. This is Stephen King's approval, but it was like a chessboard going in different directions between Wendy and Jack, and Wendy going, oh no, and then Wendy getting the cojones to go after him, and then she's running around, and then Dick's down, and the way that Jack kind of bounced around everywhere, it just felt like someone just took like a shuffleboard and went with that entire climax. It's there, it's just here and there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, every episode kind of has its own mini little climax. Like, it's all building to the big climax of, you know, him attacking them and everything. There were little climaxes that kind of, I don't want to say, like, took away from the big climax. I don't think there's one, I agree with you, there's not one specific kind of climax. It was kind of all over the place.
Indeed. As we're kind of winding down for this episode, I did want to ask, what was your favorite moment or scene from the miniseries?
Oh, I really love when Jack is trying to attack Danny, and Danny's just like, you're not my dad. And he's just like, yep, you are correct. You see the shift between the hotel hold and Jack actually rising up within himself to be there for his son.
Absolutely. That one was that moment right there. It made it all worthwhile for me to watch the miniseries. Was that moment to see what people were talking about, that's the Jack Torrance that's in the heart of The Shining, that isn't supposed to be Jack Nicholson, and is the father that, despite all these things trying to take him over and possess him and make him do evil, that did not win over the love he has for his son, which shown through all the schlocky things that we got left and right, and the weird misdirections. The heart was still there, and that was what we got to.
Yeah. In Dr. Sleep, once Dr. Sleep came out, if you go back in that lens too, it makes me even more mad, the Kubrick portrayal, because in the Stephen King book the Dr. Sleep book at the end, in the movie, he's all like, I hate my family and I should have never had a kid, blah, 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 blah. At the end of Dr. Sleep, Jack saves Danny, just like he did in The Shining. And so to me, it's like, it makes me even more mad. What was your favorite part of the miniseries?
Oh boy. There was a lot of moments that I really liked. I think the one that stuck out to me the most is the overlook ambiance coming through when Jack is going, and you get to see Stephen King cameo of him having the best time of his life, just like, I get to have what I want, just all the way through, and Jack interacting. It was such a more in-depth, haunting atmosphere that did not to be doctored by grand-esque displays. This is just the heart of haunting right here. All these things it's been embodying in this hotel, just chilling out, and Jack is just with them. It really brought more of the haunting to more of a sinister level than I felt that the Kubrick version did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love how he doesn't even question it. He's like, oh, all of a sudden there's people here having a party. Totally normal. And it kind of shows Jack's other side a little bit, where the woman flirts with him, and he doesn't turn her down because he's married.
Mm-hmm.
He turns her down because she's dead. But he doesn't want to say that. So he's just like, I don't play with Dermot's toys. No, girl, because you're dead. But if you'd have been alive, it wouldn't have stopped it.
That is very true. Though I think the real horror the whole time was the maintenance, since that is what is the undoing, was Jack not tending to the boiler room, and Danny has to point it out and be like, I got one over you. The maintenance isn't done. Ha ha. And it's like, danger. And I'm sure the ghosts were like, all the times that we were telling Jack to kill, we did not think about maintenance, and that's what he was here for. They didn't think this thing through.
And can you imagine being a 5-year-old and understanding that in order to stop everything, you have to sacrifice your dad?
Yep.
Because he's the one that told Jack to stop, knowing that he was not going to be able to get out.
But I think it's details, despite being so layered and edited weirdly, we did get to have everything we wanted for The Shining. So I feel like, to kind of sum up the episode, I'm just going to say what the very last line of it was before the credits hit. Good shot. Everything that existed in there, it existed in there. They did what was appropriate for it being like the last of the Garrus miniseries, especially where they paved the way to eventually Rose Red, Castle Rock, 11/22/63, among other things coming through. The Shining is sort of like it walked so the others could run. And everything's going to lead back to where people want to find the most authentic one. And to kind of steal up my jabber, when I finished up The Shining, the first thing I thought about was the SpongeBob episode where he's challenged to make a whole bunch of Krabby Patties. And you know how Neptune makes like 1,000 of them, and he makes this one good one. I feel like Mick Garris's version is that one good Krabby Patty that Stephen King has just taken, like, yep, but this is the one that matters the most. And I feel like he's right for that.
Yeah. I think a lot of the older movies that were done of Stephen King's book, like the older Salem's Lot and the older Pet Cemetery and It, even though there's a lot of It that can never be put anywhere.
Never.
Those were so well, to me, they were very well done and stuck true enough, for sure.
But I guess we'll just have to say that this might be the most shining example of them all, and I am definitely okay with that. So this is something that I've done before on the show, and I think I opened up with this in my last Halloween series, that I go over my favorites of Halloween this year. And so I decided to end this episode for us with us to dive into our favorite Halloweens this year. First on my list, this just came up recently, John Carpenter's Vampires. Now, it has been known on this show that I'm not a big vamp fan. They just don't really do it for me. But you give me Western and vampires, and you can just shut up and take my money. It was a very fun horror movie, and it was the kind of vibe I get behind, since I love all the leather-clad, brash characters, like the ones that I write for Inglorious Inc. It just spoke to me. And another one, funny enough, another vampire pick, but this is a parody vampire pick, Taint Light. It is a parody of Twilight, and it is an hour-long, beautiful representation from some college kids that showed what Twilight really is. It's ahead of its time, just like what we covered for the Shining miniseries. It's on Tubi, and you're gonna love it. Oh my goodness, it was so beautiful. The third one on my list is kind of more in a serious-ish limelight. It's called Deadstream. And it has a commentary on influencer culture, cancellation culture. This was a a single character movie going into a haunted house to redeem himself to the internet, because you know that's what influencers do once in a while. And it was so crafted to perfection for what both of those look like together, of a bad idea for redemption. The effects were amazing, the acting was great, and it was made during the pandemic too.
Oh.
Yeah, so there was prime real estate to get an opportunity to go by yourself and make a movie in the woods. So worth it. And the last on my list is going to have a very familiar person in here. It's called Identity. It is so good.
I love that movie.
So good. And it's another Rebecca De Mornay one where she's not having the best of luck with hotels or motels or anything. She needs to stay away from them altogether in her career. Such an underrated slasher. Absolutely amazing.
I love that. And that twist is just
twisty.
Amazing. But see, I love John Cusack. John Cusack can do no wrong for me.
Oh, yes.
So my favorite, I recently watched Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, that was mine from last year.
That was so good.
Oh my God, so good.
I love some found footage. That was really good. If you're looking for like a comedy kind of horror, F, Marry, Kill with Lucy Hale. It's about a serial killer that targets women on dating apps. The main character, who's played by Lucy Hale, is dating 3 dudes. And she's like, one of them is the guy. But it's also kind of like funny. What other? All the Fear Street movies on Netflix, those are really good. Yes. And I love the interconnectedness of them. Identity is so good. Now that you said that, I want to go watch that movie. We actually recently watched Pumpkinhead on Tubi. I've got to tell you, Sammy, my child had no real issues with like the actual scary portion of it, but the ending, because you know R.L. Stein always has that twist. That ending threw him for a loop. I don't know that he will ever get over it. Like, he was in tears at the ending. I'm like, are you okay? Pumpkinhead did not bother him, but unfazed. But like the twist, and I don't want to give the twist to spoilers, but just threw him. I just don't know that he's ever gonna get over it. But yeah, no, Late Night with the Devil,
the bestest ever in the world. And it was worth watching that in theaters too. Oh my God. Oof. All around the board. Well, I think that's going to do it for our Halloween episode. Thank you so much for being here for the Stephen King finale and sharing all of your Stephen King knowledge and comparisons. You are the greatest to come to the show, and I appreciate you so very much, friend.
Thank you for having me. I love doing these, and I gave all these long answers, but thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this one. The miniseries does not get enough love, and I will die on that hill.
Indeed. And it is time for us to hit the road, Jack. Thank you so much for being here, everyone, and have a happy Halloween from your Screen Queens.